Brewsing Banter podcast. Brewsing Banter podcast. What up? Welcome to Brewsing Banter podcast. I'm your host, Rob G. And with me, as always, is the legendary Brew Crew. What up, fellas?
I was reading this weekend. Mama. Nah, it doesn't taste like dirt. My name is Lou Belgium, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm wondering, does Delaware have an actual culture? This is the podcast that we talk about beer, but we also talk about a lot of things that's happening in the world, politics, movies, anything really that comes to our mind while we're here sampling these brews. Grab a drink and pull up a chair.
Ooh, we love you, Brewsing Banter podcast.
What up? Welcome to Brewsing Banter podcast, where the topic is rocking the brew. Well, that'd be the fuel. I'm your host, Rob G, and with me, as always, the legendary Brew Crew. What's going on, yo?
Well, it's me. Just me.
Well, you're part of the Brew Crew. Shout out to Lou, Brew Crew Lou.
Yeah.
It says this is another one.
Wait, what do you go by?
Brew Crew Lou, right? Lou Belgium, Brew Crew Lou. I think that's what his thing said. I think that's what his thing said.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. This is another episode of Brewsing Banter podcast.
Right.
If this is your first time listening, we are glad you are here for another episode. If you are a returning guest, we are all listener, I should say. We are also glad you are back for another episode of Brewsing Banter podcast because we do have another good one for you. We have the co-founder of Wavelength Coffee out of Shirley, Massachusetts. We have Jim Varney on the podcast. Let me give him a round of applause. And bring him in.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Welcome. We are glad you could be here today. But before we get into everything we always normally do, we normally drink. We always find out what everybody is drinking on, if they're drinking on something. What are we drinking today? Jim, are you drinking on something today?
Only thing I'm drinking on right now is I'm drinking on some water. Just keeping it clean right now. But I actually do have a beer that's in the fridge. It's waiting for me. It's from a little brewery called Bellflower that's in Portland, Maine. That I love a lot. So
oh yeah, I've had Bellflower.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go have some of that after we're done here.
Yeah, they were at Snallygaster last year, the beer festival in DC. And we had some of their beer. It was really good. We met. I think we met one of the owners as well. So that was cool.
They're super nice. I've been up to their I've been to their tap room up in Portland before. It's a pretty cool place. So yeah.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, I am drinking on something today. It is from Attic Brewing out of Philadelphia, PA. I can never pronounce what this says. It says Petrucci? I don't know what it is. Pitouchi. But it is their Belgian strong dark ale. I think it comes in about 8%, I believe. Like I said, it's out of Attic Brewing Company in Philadelphia, PA. There it is in my great dad glass. Nice and dark. Easy drinker. It's in Belgium, so you have that little, I guess, the closed tasting that you would have in like most Belgian beers in terms of what that is. It is, but it's a dark, so it is slightly bitter, but not too bitter. It's still smooth. It's a solid Belgian beer. So if you like Belgian style beers, this is definitely one to have. I don't know if this is one of the award-winning beers, but they have won yes, it is. They won an award. That's what I thought in 2024. They got the silver medal for this beer from the Great American Beer Festival. So this is an award-winning beer as well.
Nice.
So shout out to the folks at Attic Brewing. I'm always going past me another because they do make great beers. All right. Cool. Everybody. Well, we're both drinking on something at least. We'll find out what you're drinking on later if we drink anything. But before we, like I said, your name is Jim Varney. You are the co-founder of Wavelength Coffee. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are and a little bit about the company, and we'll get into that. So once again, the proverbial floor is yours.
Great, yeah. So thanks again for having me on. I appreciate it very much. And we'll talk a little more about like where I see there's definitely a lot of parallels between coffee and beer for sure. So I'm Jim Varney. I co-founded this company, Wavelength Coffee Roasters, with my wife, actually, my wife Deanna. So she and I started this just at the end of last year, in October. And before that, we spent about a year of R&D and work behind the scenes to get everything going. But it was really kind of a passion project for us. We've both been very passionate about, sustainability and making like sustainable choices at home. And I'd been doing that a little bit at my previous job before I sold that company and left. I was in engineering and product development, design and engineering for like 25 years, my main part of my career for that. But I kind of got out of that in 2024 and was looking for something different and looking for something new. But I wanted to make a little bit more of maybe a direct impact on the world and kind of work with people more hands-on. And so Deanna and I thought about, doing something on our own. We were going to do maybe open up a shop or, something like that. But then she was like, well, what about coffee roasting? Just kind of out of the blue. And I was like, it kind of lit a fuse. And I was like, oh yeah, like, what about that? Because the more I thought about it, I had been doing work in and around coffee for like almost my whole life. I worked at a coffee shop and was a manager there for a few years in college when I went to Syracuse. So I worked at a place there for several years. I loved it. It was a great experience in the retail kind of thing, like being in a cafe. And at my previous job too, I did a lot of work in developing actually like some of the products for like consumer products for coffee, like coffee makers and grinders, that sort of thing, but also some commercial equipment. So I saw kind of a lot of the sides of the the equipment side of it as well. There's a lot of parallels being interested in sustainability. Coffee is actually kind of a canary in a coal mine, if you will, with sustainability. It's actually really affected by climate, where they grow coffee. It's incredibly sensitive to changes in climate, and all the farmers all around the world are working really hard to adapt and to find new ways to kind of do things. But I found, like, the more I looked into it, that a lot of those really great stories weren't being told. I felt like people around here, but when you're drinking coffee, you don't even hear a lot of what's going on. You might see fair trade, you might see rainforest or whatever. You may not really even realize what that means. We wanted to tell those stories. But beyond that, the technical side, I realized too that there was a lot that could be updated with how coffee was actually being roasted here, in the country. So we dove right in, and like I said, did about a year's worth of work behind the scenes, and launched just last year. And this is our first summer really in the business. So it's been super exciting. We've had a great response from our community and from everybody around, and it's been a wild ride, man. It's been a blast for sure.
Nice. Now you said you've done a lot of things around the roasting. So what is exactly different between how it's normally done and what you do?
Yeah, for sure. So the way that coffee is roasted now, like pretty much 99+% of all coffee that is still made now and has ever been, is roasted on what's called a drum roaster. And it's heated with gas. So it's like basically a big horizontal tumbling steel drum on the inside of this big machine. And the traditional way of doing that is with just a bunch of gas burners. It's it's methane, basically it's natural gas. And that's kind of how it's always been done since like the 1850s, like commercial scale roasting. And so it's like, what else is there in our life that's basically unchanged in the last 150 years, right? Like there's nothing. So when I started looking at it, there was a new like sort of group this new emerging class of coffee roasters that are just kind of coming onto the scene, like in the last 5 years, that are all electric, super clean, very high efficiency, and even some the one that we do now are air roasted. They're air, so it's more like a giant popcorn popper than like a drum roaster. So it's a very different style of roasting, and it allows the coffee to be, because it's only just hot air that's actually contacting the bean, not really the surface like of a drum. So it's less like with a drum, it's more like you're cooking on a skillet, that you've like never cleaned for maybe 20 or 30 years. So after a long time, everything kind of tastes like the skillet, you know. With air roasting, because we can clean it out after every roasting day, the coffee tastes very clean. It allows the flavors of the origin to really come through. And so it allows us to really translate what the work is being done, say at the field, like all the work that the workers are doing, you know, the farmers are putting into the coffee. We want to translate that through to the cup so people can really taste everything. But the all electric air roaster also allows us to use we can use renewable energy. So we have solar panels at our facility that that help to power our roaster. So it's certainly a point about efficiency and about getting away from gas wherever we can, but it's also about a way of making even a cleaner tasting, a better tasting cup of coffee. So that's really the big change for us with our roasting.
So when your wife said, "Hey, let's start roasting," was that always something that was in the background? Like, what is that? Because you knew you loved coffee? Like, why was that the choice? It's like, "Hey, let's start coffee."
Yeah, let's do this. Why that? Yeah, so we have always, like, we've really been into specialty coffee. We had several roasters around us actually that we would get our coffee from, like small, like little independent places, and we loved all those coffees. We thought they were great. And but I had been doing my own roasting at home for a little bit. She had actually bought me several years ago for like Christmas or something, like a little, it's like a traditional clay pot that I think South Korea uses for roasting. It's a crazy little thing. And I did it outside over my gas stove, like with some green beans, and burned pretty much every single batch that I made. But it was fun, you know, and I had a good time. And it got me kind of into that idea of like doing it myself. So because of that, she was like, "Hey, you know, maybe we can look into this." I don't think she even realized quite how far down the rabbit hole we were going to fall when she suggested it. But yeah, we did for sure.
It's always interesting. It's already like a lot of similarity between coffee and beer and your story, because it's like a lot of times it's like, "Oh, my wife got me this beer kit and I started making coffee." And now you're saying that your wife got you the clay pot and you started roasting.
Yeah, for sure. You know, like when I have people come in, it's funny, like when people hear my story, everybody always tells me, "Oh, so you must have been an engineer or something." And I was like, "Yeah, I was." And they're like, "Yeah, because ex-engineers, like, they either go into making their own beer or they make their own coffee."
That's true.
Like, oh, I could have I guess I could have just been, you know, a micro brewer, like everybody, like, you know, like all my other cohorts. But I do think that with the equipment side of things and how important that it. Oh yeah, please jump in. Go ahead.
Now, let me ask you a question real quick. This may be a weird question, but how long does coffee have before it goes bad from you getting it? And then what does bad coffee really taste like?
Well, so, you know, coffee does, after it's been roasted. So before it's roasted, we get our coffee in like big sacks of it's called green. It's like unroasted beans. Those, as long as they're kept in a good, cool, dry place, you know, they can stay good for a year or more, like 18 months or something like that, after they've been processed. But once they've been roasted, there really is kind of this like kind of plateau, almost like there's a few days after you roast it when it's not maybe as good as it could be. And that's because when you roast coffee, it is expelling carbon dioxide like all the time. So there's a lot of CO2 that's coming out of the beans themselves. You'll notice that sometimes if you make coffee and it gets kind of like frothy, it kind of bumps up. But like also, like if you notice with our can that we sent you, or if you get like coffee bags, there's always like a little valve on it. There's like a little valve on the top of the metal can that we sent you, right? Like, but also like the bags, they always have that little circle thing that is there to allow the gas to escape. And because there's so much CO2 coming out of the beans when you first roast it for a few days, the water can't actually get into the grinds and really dissolve all the good stuff. So you can make coffee with it. It just won't taste quite as good as if you wait like 4 or 5, maybe even a week, 4, 5, 6 days. Within a week of roasting, then it starts to hit its like peak flavor, and you're good for usually a few weeks. After that, like it doesn't like instantly go bad. And some coffees I've had like tend to go stale faster than other ones. Sometimes other ones will just like cruise and be good for like weeks and weeks after. But what you'll get is a staleness. Like it's kind of like, you know, it's hard to describe exactly what the taste of, but it's like definitely recognizable. You taste it, you're like, oh, that's maybe not quite as fresh as it could be, right? And it's just the flavors get kind of dull. They kind of lose that intensity, that vibrancy that you get like immediately. It's kind of true with beer too. Like I know, like I've had like you go to like a brewery and you get them like fresh off the, you know, off the processing, and they'll tell you like, oh, these were done just this week, and like it definitely tastes like that fresh beer when you have it. It's like, it's so good. It is amazing. And it's not that it's bad later on. It's just like, it's just so much more there. Like there's just a lot more flavor when you first get it. Same thing with coffee. Like it doesn't necessarily go bad. It's just like, it's just not as good.
Okay. Because I always be thinking that that Starbucks gives bad coffee.
Well, they do. I actually saw on TV this morning. So in Boston, there's a Starbucks in like, it's called South Station. It's like one of the main train stations and like subway stops. And there's a Starbucks there that somebody was filming on their camera rats that were inside the food case that were just eating all like the, you know, biscottis and all the little, you know, muffins and stuff. And so they're like, yeah, we had to shut that down. That Starbucks not open for a while. So it's like, yeah, I don't know about Starbucks.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It always tastes like it's real bitter.
it's they burn it. So like Starbucks, you know, their whole thing, and a lot of other roasters like kind of did this too. Like they went super dark. Like it's like that was what they convinced people was good coffee. Like it has to be good because it's super dark. And it's like, well, actually roasting really dark, you can roast really good coffee dark and make a really good dark roast, but most of the time it's done to cover over cheap coffee. Like if you buy cheap coffee and you roast it long enough, it tastes like every other dark roasted coffee. It's just, so it's kind of it's harder to do a light or a medium roast and get that good flavor. Like you have to buy good beans if you're going to do that. Because if you buy cheap beans and you light roast it, you're going to be like, ugh, this doesn't taste like anything. So it's a business model. It was a way for them to kind of, you know, use cheaper product, you know, explain to people, they're like, oh, this is the European style of drinking coffee. It's all dark. This is good. And it's like, well, no, that's not the only way to do it. There's a lot of different ways to do it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So can you explain the process? Because I like coffee, but I don't never really know the process. Can you explain the process from going from sourcing to how until it gets to here? Like, what is that process until it gets to here?
Yeah. We actually have done. This is something I think is fascinating because like not a lot of people know like where their food comes from, and I think that extends to what we drink too. Like, you know, even if you spend a day like in a brewery, like you'd be amazed at like, how is it done? How is it made? Same thing with coffee. You know, it's something that you've probably been drinking since you were a kid and don't even realize it. So coffee is it is a fruit. Like it's a cherry that it grows on these short shrubby trees. And it's the same, it's in the same family of like, it's called a drupe, but it's the same, like peaches, olives, you know, plums, anything that's like has a fruit around the outside with like one single seed or like a pit on the inside, like all those are like that. Coffee's the same way. It has a fruit around the outside and a little seed on the inside. And it's actually two seeds most of the time. So like the coffee beans that you get are actually two halves of the seeds. There's like, they kind of look like your hands. So, you know, so what
that
they
makes
do
sense.
is
That's why they look like that.
Yeah, that's why they look like that, you know,
because they cut in half.
Yeah, because they just kind of when they take them out, there's actually two little seeds on the inside.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But so coffee when it's ripe and it grows basically around the equator, around the earth, you know. So Central America, northern South America, Africa, especially East Africa, and Southeast Asia are like the big places where coffee's grown. And when the coffee gets ripe, and they have to pick it almost exclusively by hand, so it's pretty labor intensive. And it gets processed in a couple different ways, because basically you have to get the fruit off of the seeds on the inside. And then you have to dry out those seeds to the point where they're dry enough to roast them, because actually when they're fresh, they're pretty wet and soft, like you would imagine. Like they're not. It's almost like I've never actually seen one like this, but an almond. Like I don't know if you live anywhere where you can actually get like fresh almonds, but you can buy them apparently. Almonds are kind of like that. They're in the same family. They have like a fruit around the outside with like there's a pit on the inside that you can dry it and it becomes the almond nut we eat. But if you get it fresh, it's actually soft, and it's like not like a regular almond. It's totally weird. But I digress. But anyway, so really there's a couple different ways generally that you can process then this fruit. You can just pick it and then set it out in the sun and let it dry. That's the old-fashioned way, like what they do in Ethiopia, like East Africa. This was like the traditional way of preparing coffee, and it dries in the sun for 3-4 weeks, like a raisin basically, and the outer fruit just kind of dries up, and you got to keep moving it around and shifting it so it doesn't get all gross. But eventually it gets dry enough so you can basically pull the seed out, and that seed has to dry a little bit longer before it can be roasted. But they traditionally would just take that and put it on a pan over the fire and like just roast it. And I've had some friends of mine that have been to Ethiopia and had coffee that way, and they're like, it's like the most amazing coffee you've ever had. Like it's so fresh, and talk about the freshness, right? Like it's incredible. But there's also kind of a more modern way of producing, which is like they take the fruit that they picked and they basically run it through a pulper, like a machine that just kind of spits out the seeds. It just like it's a big wheel kind of, and it strips off all the fruit. And then they set those stripped off seeds out in the sun to dry. And that doesn't take as long. It's maybe only a couple weeks. It's a little faster, a little bit more like, it's a cleaner process. So like the difference between what I just explained was the first one is called a natural process coffee, which is like the one that I sent you actually. That Pacamara is a natural process coffee.
Okay.
And or there's a washed coffee, which is what I just explained to you before, where like they strip the fruit off, then they wash it in a bunch of water and they set it out in the sun. Washed coffees tend to be more like the cleaner tasting, nuttier, chocolatier kind of flavored coffees, like more what we expect when you go out for like pretty much standard coffee. If you go to a restaurant or a cafe or whatever, most of it's washed. The natural coffees, even though it's more traditional, are almost a little bit more like a new thing for us to drink, because it sometimes can be a little funky. It's going to be a little more fruit forward, and they can do a lot of amazing things with the processing to kind of push those flavors in different ways. And in that way, I was thinking like that was one of the parallels I was thinking with beer and like with microbrewing, is like it's all like this chemistry and the way in which you deal with the ingredients, and just subtle changes in how long you hold something or how long you let something ferment, or different things with that can totally change the flavor. And they can do the same thing with coffee as they do with like beer. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we've had, speaking to a lot of brewers, we've had a lot of the engineers or scientists who have pivot to brewing.
That's true.
But so what do they do? What's the fruit? So what do they do with the fruit? Because I know the seed is the coffee,
the fruit,
right?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, exactly. What do you do with the fruit? Actually, the fruit, it's called cascara, and they actually have been starting to sell that. So you can there's some places they'll take the fruit and they'll dry it, and then sometimes they'll grind it in like a powder, or that you can just buy like bits of it and you can make a tea with it. If you get it fresh, you can actually make it into like a jelly and a jam. And it has caffeine in it, so you can make this caffeinated like jelly with it, which is pretty cool.
Shout out to a new beer flavor.
People are starting to use that in all kinds of different ways. Or some of the farms, like they don't want to deal with that. They basically will then just compost it and just use it back on their lay it on the fields basically. But yeah, it's kind of a new thing now to start using it to sell, because why not? Like, why not make some money off of something which is basically a waste product for them? And it's kind of a cherry flavored thing. I guess it tastes pretty. I've never had any, but I guess it's pretty good.
Huh. Yeah, now I'm interested to know how that tastes. I don't think I ever knew that coffee was fruit until today.
Yeah, a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people don't know. It's weird. It's wild.
Yeah, but now it makes sense. Now why it looks like that. It looks like a a black eyed pea because it's split in the middle because it's a seed.
Exactly.
All right. So once that process, so once you sourcing and all that stuff, and then it goes through your process, which is the not air
roasting.
Air roasting. And then you also use cans for a reason, right? There's also, it's not just because you could use paper bags like some people do, but there's a reason you also use this as well.
Yeah, for sure. We, I guess you could say it's kind of like the old-fashioned way, because it's like how my parents, chock full of nuts or Maxwell House, Folgers. It was always in a can, right? But as it turns out, like sometimes the old way of doing things is kind of best. So we were looking for a better solution to package our beans in than paper bags or the plastic bags or the laminates or anything, because no matter what the bag is made of, they almost always end up in the landfill and burned or burned. And even the ones that say that they're biodegradable and stuff, like they don't ever really, it's almost always thrown in the trash. And so I've always felt guilty about that. And I was like, man, there's gonna be something better. So we kind of went back to the old way of doing it. I actually started with experimenting with aluminum cans, like beer cans, like 16 ounce cans. I was going to put the roasted beans in like a pint can and then seal it. And I was like, oh, this would be cool. Like I'd have it would look almost like a little, thing of beer. Turns out it was too small to hold enough coffee to make it worth it, really, for one. And also, like, I couldn't really seal it effectively all the time because beer cans are made to have liquid inside. But if you ever try to like seal, like seam a beer can without any liquid in it, and it just crushes, like it doesn't hold up without the liquid inside.
Is that because it's too thin? Like it's that thin?
Yeah, exactly. Because the aluminum is so thin, it just like the pressure to actually seal it, it just crushes it. But so we went back to steel, and with steel, it's 100% recyclable, of course, like, and it's super circular, which means like basically, anything that you recycle with steel, it gets brought back in and can be made into anything else that's made of steel. It could be a car, it could be a hip implant or whatever. Like, you could make a bridge out of it. You can make more cans. Like it doesn't downcycle like plastic usually does. Like you can maybe cycle plastic a couple of times, but then after that, like it becomes a park bench, and that's basically about it. So with steel, it was a better sustainability source for us, but also it's better for the beans. It turns out that it's a better barrier for the coffee. It's completely impervious to any light, any moisture, any oxygen. Like, the gases can't get in, because that's what starts to stale coffee is oxygen. And so it turns out that one coffee that's been sealed in a can will stay fresher a little bit longer than in a bag. So it's better for folks like you who are buying the coffee, and it's better for the environment also. So it turned out to be a hard thing to do. It wasn't really set up easily for us to do it that way, but we felt really important to go in that direction. So we did it from the very beginning.
So I got a question. Why do you think that people kind of got away from using the steel cans instead and moved towards the bagging?
That's a really good question, because I've talked to some people in the canning like industry, and they really want to get back into coffee. Like they would love to support more small coffee roasters, but the way that the downside is, like, their machinery is made for like producing millions and millions of cans. Like it's just super high volume is really kind of what their industry is geared to. And for roasters like us and a lot of other smaller roasters, like, they want to make like maybe a few hundred, or I wish I could buy like, a couple hundred bags, or like, that smaller volume. And it was the bag industry that kind of came in and was able to answer that question. So I think as small roasters started to kind of come up, so it wasn't just the big boys, it wasn't just like huge roasters that had huge volume, but small people, like kind of like with the micro brewing kind of like revolution, when roasters started to kind of pop up, then the bags ended up being kind of the most economical solution at small volumes. and the can industry just didn't really keep up. They didn't have a good answer for that. I think they're working on that, and we actually are trying to work with the folks that we bought our cans from. They're out in California. We're going to try to help to make those solutions a little bit easier for smaller roasters like us, to get the minimums down, to get the cost down, so that it's just easier. It's an easier option to get into, because right now it's like it's volume. The minimum volume is kind of high, and the cost is associated with that is also high. So I think it was that rise of the smaller roasters that kind of made bags all of a sudden be like everywhere instead of cans.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always a reason, like normally like some cost effectiveness or something, like people. Let's try this. It might not be always the best, but it's sometimes it's
hard. Yeah, it's hard to fight against cost. It really is.
Right. And then I guess if it doesn't affect my product, if it only affects my product, maybe like 2%, maybe I'm just throwing something out there, it's worth it, I guess, at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean,
I like it switching up your flavors that bad that it's going to take away from it.
Yeah, I certainly don't fault anyone for like going with bags, because like honestly, it is hard to find good solutions, and we definitely fought sort of upstream to use the can options we have. But I know there are some other roasters now that are starting to use cans too. Like it's kind of like becoming a little bit, I wouldn't call it a thing yet, but I know of at least like a couple others that are doing it, and we hear. The good thing is that because it's not done very much, like we hear people that are like, oh, wow, this is kind of cool. It stands out on the shelf next to all the other coffees, which is like not the reason we did it, but hey, it's an extra benefit. Like when you're packaging, it stands out. Like that's kind of a cool thing.
When you start sourcing the coffees that you're using, do you like actually go visit the sites? It's like, do you actually go out and like, hey, or do you like go like, is there like coffee conferences? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so we really do. We want to visit some of these places for sure. I don't have a big enough travel budget yet to go to all of them, but that is part of the plan, is to go and visit some of these sources on site, because I've heard it's just a great experience. But we haven't been able to do that yet. I think we have a potential trip we're thinking about to Central America later this year, which would be our first time. So that would be great. But really, it was a lot of research and talking to people in the industry. So there are coffee conferences, to answer your question, but where you can actually meet a lot of these producers face to face, which we have done. We've met some of our folks like in Colombia that we buy coffee from. We've met with them at there was a trade show in Houston actually a couple of years ago that we went down to. But really, most of the time there are importers. There's these companies that help to bring the coffees from origin, like from actually the farms, and they will bring it. They'll help to export it. Sometimes they help with processing, and they handle all the shipping and logistics and all the importing and customs and all that stuff. So it's quite a lot that they can take care of, but it's almost like an easier place for me to go, and I can look at all the coffees that they happen to have, and we can learn about them, and then we can start to buy based on what they have available. So we've narrowed it down to, we have a small handful of importers that we trust, that are doing the right things, that actually have similar values that we do, and carry coffees that are leading the way with whether it's women owners or it's folks that are using sustainable growing practices like agroforestry or other things like that, or so we have different places that definitely have aligned with our values. But we also have at least one example of a farm that we buy directly from. So there's a place in El Salvador, a family called the Pola family. So Carlos Pola is the farmer, and that's the coffee that I sent to you is one of them. We buy directly from the farm there, and so we don't go through a separate importer. And that's because I had heard about the stuff that this farmer was doing, and they were doing like really amazing, like crazy stuff that I'd never heard of before, like introducing fungus to the roots of their coffee plants to help the plants be able to like pull out more nutrients from the soil and also hold on to moisture longer. And I'd never heard of anybody else doing that before. And it helps them to make stronger trees, because they've had really big problems with what's called leaf rust, but it's basically like it's like a plant disease that happens like when it gets, too warm and too muggy, like, and usually where they grow coffee, it's higher up in the mountains. So that hasn't in the past been a big problem, but as it's gotten warmer, again, climate change, right? Like the sort of zone where that disease happens has been getting higher and higher and higher on the mountains. And so they had a big problem several years ago, and they decided like, hey, we've got to change our farming practices in order to survive so that we can keep going and to make it better. So they really have been done an amazing job. And so I searched them out directly because of that. And that's why we buy their coffees. So they're doing really good stuff.
Nice. So how many SKUs do you have currently?
Oh boy. I think I've got about 9 or 10 coffees now. But we've got like 6 new coffees that I'm excited to roll out. We're trying not to, flood the zone too much because I don't have enough like little pots that I can, when I go to trade shows and stuff, or we go to our farmers markets, we like to bring like an air pot, like a push pot of every like coffee we have. And I've only got so many of those. And I've only got so big of a table. I'm like, okay, I got to limit this. But yeah, we've got a few new coffees that are coming out now that we're really excited about. Hoping to maybe transition some out and bring some new ones in just to keep things interesting. But yeah, somewhere between like 10 and 12. Yeah.
Okay, because I'm about to say you got 10 already, but you only started. You said you only been in business for like a year.
I know, too many.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot. I can't keep track. It's too many things. I know.
And you said this was the one that you sent us is the one of the number one sellers. Is that correct?
It's our number one like highest rated coffee. Actually.
Highest rated coffee. Okay.
That one. So like they always like there's this independent board that like will taste coffees if you send this to them. And yeah, this one is like our highest scoring lot, and it's delicious. We really like it, and it definitely has a different flavor if you're not used to like natural coffee. That's definitely got some like more fruit forward to it, but yeah, it's very good.
I found it easier to drink straight, no sugar, no cream. I found it easier to drink with just black. Than most coffees, because some black coffees is like I can't do it, but I found this one easier to drink plain, and I just enjoyed the flavors. Yeah, I did.
We hear that a lot, actually. We do hear that with our coffees, and that's because of the air roasting. Because a lot of what people think coffee tastes like the bitterness, or like you got to add a lot of milk and sugar to kind of even make it taste good. It's because of the drum roasting. Like it's because of that buildup of just stuff over time. Yeah. So like if you actually use like the air roasting allows for it just enough. It's just hot air really that's doing the roasting. So it's only all you're getting is what the bean is bringing to the table. Like basically that's it. So because of that, you don't get a lot of that like kind of nasty like acrid or bitterness at the end. Like it might be really strong flavor up front, but usually the finish is very smooth. And so people tend to say like, oh wow, like I don't actually need to add a lot of milk to this. Like it's good as it is. So yeah, we think they like that.
No, the air roaster, is it like every time you say it, I envision like a popcorn maker.
Kinda. Yeah. Kinda. It's like a big industrial sized like popcorn popper. So like it's like a big, so what I can I can do about 12 pounds of coffee per batch. So it's big enough. If you imagine something that's kind of big enough for that, but like it's like the roaster itself is maybe about 4 feet tall, and so it's not huge, but it's like a vertical drum really that hot air is like blowing up from underneath past some heater elements, right? So it gets real hot, the air does, but it's blowing like vertical. So I pour the beans into this like open vertical chamber, and the hot air kind of like blows up from inside, and the beans like just kind of do this dance. They just, it's almost like a little tornado. It's really hypnotic actually to kind of watch it, but they just kind of jump around and everything. And we have like another part of the roaster that's basically like a vacuum that kind of sits over the top of it and sort of pulls off everything that's coming off, because there's like chaff and dust and like stuff that's coming off the beans as it roasts. So that has to go somewhere. So we suck that off with this like, vent hood basically. But yeah, but the thing itself does look like a really big version of a popcorn popper. And it works essentially the same way.
So what else can you roast in this thing?
I know. What else could I was actually telling my wife, I'm like, let's do an Instagram reel where I put a bunch of popcorn in here because I'm curious if it's
it's something else has to go in there.
Explode, I don't know.
Well, they're all seeds, so just throw any seed you got and see what happens.
Yeah, what else could I do? I know, like roast peanuts or something in there. I don't know.
Because I'm just curious because and I wonder if it'll make a difference in the taste of like a peanut. Like,
I mean, that's
I'm so curious.
Now you're making me really curious. Now this is really interesting. I'm gonna try this
because it's so funny because I'm thinking like there would be I wouldn't be able to tell what happened to the peanut, but I'm pretty sure there's a different flavor to it. But all I know in all my life is the way peanuts are regularly roasted.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like an air roasted peanut. You're like, wow, this tastes totally different. Like, I've never had peanuts like this.
When they first started using air fryers and like you put your chicken in there and you had air fried chicken, and you're like, wait a minute, this is different. I was just tasting grease.
I'll put some like chicken in there. I'll put kale. Make them like those kale like crispy chips. I'll just load it with kale.
Well, I had a Japanese style air fried peanut. It actually tastes pretty good. So it is slightly different, but it was an air fried Japanese peanut. Yeah, it was actually salad. So I'm like, hey,
maybe that's a thing. I think we hit on something here. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like it.
I should ask this probably earlier. Like, how did y'all come up with the name Wavelength? And was that the first name y'all landed on? Like, what is the significance behind Wavelength?
It's funny. It's like whenever you try to make your own company, you quickly realize like every name has been taken. Like you can come up with like a list of 100 names, and the first 99 have all been taken.
Right.
But no, we did kind of stumble on this because the idea of using solar energy. So we have solar panels at our facility, and with the electric roaster, getting away from gas, it was the idea of like the waves of, sunlight waves and the waves of energy and on, in electricity, that's how energy is transmitted. So it was that like sort of engineering side of things, but also it's about getting people on the same wavelength. It's like this alignment thing. So it's a little play on words. So it's kind of, taking like the growers and the roasters and the people who drink it and kind of getting everybody all together, like thinking about the same things. So yeah, that was a double meaning that we really liked. Getting out of that.
Oh, nice. That's pretty cool. I had another quick question. Do you think being an engineer makes you a better coffee roaster?
I think it does, of course, but it certainly makes me good at keeping notes because like I'm a crazy spreadsheet person, so like I keep track of all my data. Like every single roast I have data points on every single thing that I put down. It allows me to understand what's happening better and to kind of see. I get a sense of like how the bean is changing, or like it's amazing to me how different coffees from different places in the world will behave totally differently in my coffee roaster. And I just find that fascinating. It's like this agricultural product is just so fascinating when I don't know, I'm like in awe of it. I just think it's incredible, but it's like a challenge to me every time we get a new coffee and to like, how am I going to roast this to make it like its best self? Like, what does the bean want to be? Like, does it want to be a light roast? Does it want to be a dark roast? Does it want to find somewhere in between? And how fast do I do it? And so it's like this little puzzle to do. And I have to admit, I think probably my technical background does make me geek out on that a little bit. So yeah, I think that's true.
So these fruits that the coffee beans come from, are there different kinds of these fruits? You know how like there's different breeds of apples, like different type of apples. So I'm just wondering, like, and does that change the flavor of coffee?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. You were totally right. Almost all the coffee we drink now is one species called Arabica. Like you've all seen Arabica coffee, right? Right. All that means is that it's really just it's a general species of coffee that people have been cultivating for hundreds and hundreds of years, like all over the world. And they've been crossbreeding that and trying different things. So actually a lot of the different varietals that you have of coffee that are grown around the world, you've heard of like maybe Gesha, you know, or like the one I sent to you is a Pacamara. They're varietals, but they are fundamentally, most of them are Arabica. They're just sort of crossbred with different ones that have grown all over the place. So, but all of those different trees, you know, they're grown, like, you know, they hybridize, like they've been hybridized on purpose by people, you know, in gardens or whatever around the world trying to do different things. Or sometimes it happens naturally, like just you get a random, like two coffee trees love each other very much and they make a new coffee tree. And it just happens to taste different and be a different thing. And people will be like, oh, this one tastes good. I'm going to grow this. A lot of the coffees that we drink now, there's one that's called, it's getting kind of popular now. It's called pink bourbon or pink bourbon, if people really want to be fancy about it. But it's grown a lot in Central America, but it's actually it's from Ethiopia. And they don't know how it got there because people just would bring plants. Like, you know, we're talking about hundreds of years ago, like in colonialism, like people would just be like, oh, I like this plant. I'm going to take it with me and I'm going to plant it here in this farm. And then people forgot about it. And now it shows up on someone's farm in Colombia and they're like, oh, what's this? And they start drinking it. They're like, this is amazing. And then they make tons of farms of it. So it is totally true that the varieties themselves, the plants themselves will make a different flavor. And there's actually like a couple dozen species of coffee tree, but humans only drink, like we only really like maybe 3 or 4 of them that are drinkable. There are a few that now scientists are getting really excited about because they happen to be a lot more resilient to climate change. Their drought tolerance is better, and you know, they can grow at different elevations and still taste good. And they're starting to introduce those now. They're doing trials to see if they can bring them to market, but they're a totally different species than Arabica. And they all taste different. So yeah, absolutely right. It's just like every other, you know, fruit thing. All the different varietals, even the same varietal grown in 2 different places will taste a little bit different.
This is some of the nerdiest shit ever, but it's very interesting.
Oh yeah, super nerdy.
If it's anything like I learned, like I recently was in New Orleans. If it's anything like I learned, Bourbon was part of the Royal Bourbon, so maybe it came from wherever they were.
You guys are the smartest hosts that I have ever been on any podcast. Seriously, you're like. You guys know you guys may not think you know your stuff with coffee, but you totally do. You are 100% right. Bourbon is like a whole family of coffee varietals that is named after the island of Bourbon, which is now called Reunion Island, which is off the coast of Madagascar in off of Africa. And that island was like named for the French like royalty, like basically. And there was like they basically brought because the whole story of coffee is a story of colonialism. You know, it's like basically European, you know, people came to Africa, forced people there to grow coffee to give to them so they could bring back to places like Amsterdam and Germany and France and England. And that's honestly why a lot of coffee is grown in Eastern Africa, is because of colonialism. And a lot of those varieties are bourbon or Bourbon varieties, because that's where they came through, was from that island off the coast of Africa, where those varieties came from. So you are 100% right. Like that is, there is a tracing there.
All right. Hey, listening to those tours pays off.
It does. Absolutely.
Shoot, curiosity just pays off. But true. Those so I remember back, I even want to say a beer that we had a while ago had these coffee beans in it, and it had something to do with an animal's poop, but I don't remember what it was. Do you know anything about this coffee?
Yeah, what is it, like civet poop coffee or something? Yeah. You
ever had it before?
I have never. I'm not interested in drinking anything that's been through the digestive system of an animal. But,
well, it got rid of the. Does it slow down the? Because is it that they're eating these fruits
Yeah, exactly.
Well, see, it's speeding up a process because now they don't got to wash them and they don't have to get the actual fruit off because the animals did it for them.
That's why they do that. That's exactly 100% right, because instead of waiting for the sun to do it, they basically let the animal's digestive system take all the fruit off, and then they're like, hey, this is perfect. But yeah, I don't know.
That just sounds crazy.
Poop coffee? I don't know about poop coffie. I don't know. That might be
it's probably
a step too far for me. It's probably the best thing ever, but like I was like, yeah, no.
I know it's definitely expensive. It's definitely an expensive cup of coffee, but I don't know if I would want to partake.
No, it must be expensive. Just you got to wait a long time for enough coffee to come through the civet, I guess, to actually, So it just takes a long time. That's why it's so expensive.
So have you been to any places where you had, or not even actually been, but just tasted coffees from different countries that are completely different from what's the norm here in America?
Yeah. So like when I was first getting into this whole coffee thing, I took some classes. I went to this place in Vermont that is like a coffee institute where they do training, and they have a whole bunch of different coffee roaster machines set up, and you can go there for a few days and you can basically get trained on like how to roast coffee. It was fascinating. It was a great experience. And part of that experience was they had us do some tasting of some of the coffees that they had roasted. And they had a bunch of different coffees. And I remember I talked about different species. Well, this was a species called Liberica, which is a totally different kind of coffee. And they had us taste that. And I swear to God, it tasted like meat. It was like a hamburger. It was like drinking this cup of coffee. I'm like, this tastes like hamburger. Like, it's not necessarily unpleasant, right? Like, it's like, it tastes like, okay, it tastes like a hamburger, right. But you don't think about tasting meat when you're drinking coffee. Yeah. And I was like wow.
Like, I don't know what you mean, but like flame broiled burger, like
it was like a char, like a Burger King, like flame grilled like burger meat. It was the weirdest thing I ever tasted. But
based on the drum process rolling, you would think more would taste like, because normally, like if it's like a burnt, a roasted type of thing, have the barbecue-y taste of something like smoked beers and stuff like that. So you would think more coffees actually taste like barbecue.
Yeah, and there's actually a cool roastery up in Portland, Maine. We talked about Bellflower, right? But up in Portland, Maine, there's a roastery, a coffee roastery that uses a wood-fired coffee roaster. So instead of like gas or electric, like they actually build like a whole wood stove underneath.
Oh, wow.
And they use all that. So I've often thought like, I wonder if it actually tastes smoky. It doesn't though. I've actually had their coffee.
Really?
It's good. But I expected it to be like kind of have like a kind of wood smoke.
Yeah.
Not so much. Yeah.
Wow.
But which it may be kind of nice, or I don't know, but maybe too
much. But now I'm wondering like what takes away from it not, because you would assume especially doing it that way, that it would taste somewhat smoky. So I wonder what takes that away, that it doesn't taste smoky.
I don't know. It does seem like it would impart some of that smoky flavor, but I don't get it so much. But maybe they have one where they really just like make it super smoky or something. It would be kind of a cool thing. But I don't know.
So are you into flavored coffees like French vanillas and?
Ooh, not the chemical stuff anymore. I when I first started drinking coffee though, I was hazelnut, and with like lots of milk and lots of sugar. That was like the gateway drug. That was how I got in. But then I kind of got, you got off the flavor stuff again, because it's chemicals is kind of the flavor stuff, and it also masks usually like kind of a cheaper coffee. But there's a big trend right now in coffees. It's sometimes called co-fermentations or infusions, and where what they'll do is like with the coffee that I sent to you, it's the Pacamara. It's called an anaerobic process. So they take the coffee cherry when they pick them, and they put a bunch of them into like a big stainless steel vat. And with the stuff that Pola's does that I sent to you, they don't add anything else. They just put the coffee cherries, a bunch of them in there, maybe a little bit of water or whatever, and they seal it up, and they let that sit and kind of ferment for like maybe a day or so. And that's just enough for the fruit to kind of, kind of seep in, like the flavors to kind of meld a little bit with the seeds. So then when they take those coffee cherries and they set them out in the sun, it just gives it that extra kind of flavor oomph. Now, what some people are doing in that fermentation step is they'll put in a bunch of other stuff. So sometimes it's like they'll just add yeast. They'll add like brewer's yeast,
like vanilla beans and stuff like that.
They'll add vanilla beans. They'll add like fruit. They'll add like a bunch of like,
that's more natural.
Oranges and stuff. Yeah, so exactly. You'll get more of like, it's a flavored coffee. And it is. I've had some of these and the flavor is like punchy. It's like, it smacks you in the face. Like I had like cinnamon, like where they take a bunch of cinnamon stuff and they just put it in with that and ferment it. And it tastes like cinnamon. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, and it is actually pretty good. The cinnamon one was one of our favorites, actually. But a lot of the other ones, like I had a watermelon one, and I was like,
"Oh, that sounds interesting."
Yeah, I was like, that was a little too much for me. But it is like it's this new way of doing flavor that's it's all natural, so it's not chemically, and it's not for everybody, but it's kind of this new emerging way of kind of getting people who like that flavored stuff to kind of get into more of the coffee size stuff.
I don't know why, Jim, but
fermentation in the coffee, though.
Right. It seems like to me that I'm just the kind of guy just to put coffee grounds in the coffee maker and just make a regular cup of coffee. You seem like you have a press or something, or it's the when you see the fancy clips of people making coffee on TikTok or something.
I got a French press now, so I can't even hate.
I'm a pretty simple guy when it comes to that stuff. Actually, we do have most of what the coffee I drink is drip. Just I think it's fine. We'll do a French press sometimes. We'll do like, you ever see an AeroPress? It's like a little cylinder kind of thing. You put coffee grounds in it and some hot water, and it's like a syringe.
And then the water goes up.
You just kind of push it through, and it kind of like squeezes out the bottom. That's a super fast, like quick, easy way to make like a nice, and they're cheap too. They're like $40. You can buy one of those, and they make really good coffee. But I guess from our point of view, like when we go to farmers markets and stuff, like we usually have, like we were saying, we just make our drip coffee and we put each one in like an air pot and we have them as free samples. We just let people come up and try all the different coffees.
Okay.
And so we don't want to intimidate people to be like, oh, here's a $20 pour over, where that's going to take you 5 minutes to do, and don't put anything in it because it's, too precious.
Right.
Like we don't want to get, we would rather have more people like be interested in good coffee than to like push people away with process. And so we love that at these farmers markets, people will come up to us and be like, look, I just like Dunkin' Donuts, or I like Starbucks. Or like, what would I drink here? And we're like, oh, well, we've got some options for you. Why don't you try this? And you can try this.
We got 10.
Yeah, you got 10. You got 15 or whatever it is. Yeah, exactly. I got too many. But people will surprise themselves with trying something new, and will be like, oh wow, actually I wouldn't think I'd like that, but I really do. And we try to keep it simple in that
way. Okay, that's good. Nice. I like that.
Now have you two questions, I guess, or as two sides of the same coin. Like, have you done a collab with a brewery with your coffee, like in a stout, or have you tasted stouts that have like coffee in them?
I have had several coffee like infused beers before. Okay. I haven't yet I really want to collaborate with a brewery actually to make a beer. I tried. There was a local guy, this local brewery that we got to know, and I was like, oh, hey, can we do something together? And he was like, oh man, I'm already doing something. He was already doing a collaboration with like some other like coffee person. I was like, oh man, I missed it. But hey, if anyone's listening and they have a brewery and they want to collaborate with some good coffee, just give me a ring. But yeah, I've had several, and some better than others. But like, I think those flavors really can work well together. They do tend to make like a pretty, like, the stouts, I think, like the heavier kind of, that flavor works best, it seems, with the coffees. But I don't know. Maybe somebody could do a light roast coffee with like a light beer or something. I don't know. It's a little upper and a downer.
Don't be surprised if you get a call from a brewer that
wants
to do a collab.
Right, yeah.
Let's do it. Let's figure it out, man. I think that'll be awesome. We already talked about peanuts and roast and everything else, so like, why not? Let's do something.
Right. Yeah, it was
true. Now, is it true that in terms of like caffeine in coffees, is it true based on the roast, like lighter coffees are actually higher in caffeine? Is that true?
Not exactly. Not really.
Okay.
So the truth is that like a medium roast coffee tends to have the most caffeine, but it's only like a little bit more.
Okay.
And that's because like when the lighter roast coffees, they don't you don't get as much extraction, basically what's called, like you don't get as much of the solids, and like the soluble materials in the coffee aren't accessible to the water. So you don't quite pull out as much caffeine. And with dark roasts, the really dark roasted ones actually break down the caffeine. Like it starts to it actually destroys some of the caffeine molecules. So somewhere in between is like the Cinderella, like perfect. But again, it's not like it's twice as much caffeine. Like it's just like maybe a tiny bit more. There are like, if you've ever heard of Robusta coffee, you ever seen like Robusta or anything like that around? That's actually, yeah, I've ever seen it. But like that's actually a different species of coffee, and they use it a lot in Europe and in Asia. It's kind of a little bit more bitter and stronger tasting, but it has twice the caffeine as Arabica coffee does. And so like in Europe, they would actually kind of use a little bit of Robusta in with the Arabica to make like an espresso roast that would have like a super caffeine punch. And that's why they would do it. They would kind of add it in to like boost the caffeine level.
Okay.
So it's not really great to drink.
So what is the significance of light roast, medium roast? Is it just flavor profile that you prefer? Like is that really what it is?
It's, I mean, for people, the drinkers, yeah, it's like, what do you it seems like everybody has their own kind of sweet spot of what they kind of like. But for the coffee itself, I find that it's really determined by the bean. Like I let the different coffees taste better at different roast levels, as far as I'm concerned. Most of them are good right in the medium, like they're kind of in that medium zone. But we've had a couple, like for example, we've got a coffee from Burundi that we use as a dark roast. It's a wonderful coffee, but like I tried roasting it lighter, and it was under roasted. It was under roasted. I could taste it. Like more. It's hard to describe, but it's almost like it tastes kind of green, like kind of like vegetal a little bit.
Like
I would roast it and I would drink it. I'd be like, it tastes a little like grassy. Like it wasn't quite there. But when I roasted it darker and darker, and it got better and better and better. And actually, where I roast it now, it's like, oh, that's perfect, and people like it as a dark roast. So it's like, but I have other coffees where if I roast it any further than like light, it's like, ooh, it doesn't taste right. So it really depends on what the coffee is bringing to the table, and I kind of let that kind of show.
So what do you do? Roast a small amount first?
I tell you guys are the best hosts of anybody I've ever talked to. You accuse me of being nerdy, but you guys know.
Yeah.
You guys already know. You're secretly nerdy too. But like you're totally right. So when I get coffee in, I roast a small batch, and I do it to like 4 or 5 different levels. I'll just roast it to like different temperatures, basically.
Right.
And my wife and I and other people will have them come in and taste it. And we'll then like look at this range. And some coffees are like, yeah, these are all pretty good. Other ones, it's like, no, this is definitely terrible. And like, this is much, much better. And so in a process of elimination, like that will allow us to find which roast level each coffee really wants to be at. So we let the coffee speak for itself.
So when people are in the store, they see the light and the dark roast and all this, it doesn't change the amount of caffeine in it.
Not really. People think that. People think like, oh, give me your strongest coffee. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, strongest tasting or strongest? People think like darker roasted somehow has more.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't really. It's all kind of the same. It's maybe there's slight differences, but it's not enough to really make, it's not going to keep you up at night versus letting you sleep. Like that.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Except for decaf, obviously. Decaf.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But yeah, besides that.
I feel like everyone's point drinking coffee, drinking decaf.
I know. That said, we have people ask us for decaf all the time, and we do have actually. We had a really nice decaf that sold out.
It's like NA beers. It's like NA beers.
Yeah.
It's a new thing.
And I can't talk because sometimes I don't always want the caffeine from coffee, but I want a coffee.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah, I'm still not entirely. I've had a couple NA beers. Maybe they've gotten better, but I haven't had one that's quite there yet. Like, I don't know. Maybe there's some better ones, but no, that's a growing trend. Like a lot of, especially younger folks now are like, not drinking as much and not doing as much caffeine. They're doing other stuff, but they're just maybe not doing those things as much. Everybody's always doing something, but they're just shifting what they're using. But no, it's cool.
All right. So I guess we didn't know respect. How can people like find your coffee? Like, how can they if people listen? How can they go and actually get the coffee?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have all of our coffees, all 10 of them at least, on our website, and we ship everywhere in the U.S. So it's wavelength-coffee.com is our website.
Okay.
And you can purchase any of the coffees there. We do free shipping for anything over $40. So usually that's like a couple cans will get you over the threshold, and so we then ship free, like everywhere in the continental United States. And we've shipped everywhere. We've shipped to like pretty much every state in the nation at this point. And there's we're getting into more local places. We're actually in a few places up in Massachusetts here. So some more like some boutique kind of resellers. Also, like there's a chain of cafes called Revival Cafe and Kitchen, which is in Boston. They've got like 7 different locations all around the city. So they're carrying our coffee now for process. So they actually brew the coffee as well as like sell the cans there too. So yeah, so we're very new. So we're kind of just starting to get out there. We'd love to get into other places and to get better distribution around different areas. But certainly for now, people can definitely find us on our website. It's probably the easiest way.
Right. Well, because it definitely is, even though you're new, you definitely have a strong message behind the coffee, like the renewability, the air motion, all that stuff. So definitely, and it's a good coffee. Like I said, I had it a couple of times at this point. Some with cream and some without. And I enjoyed both ways.
Great, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
He didn't share it with us.
No. I think there might be still some left over, but
yeah. Now, this is a dumb question that I didn't know the answer to. My daughter asked me, like, well, 2 questions actually. Can you just eat the bean, like just roll out?
Yeah, you totally can. Like, you ever had like the chocolate covered like espresso beans, like those things?
Okay,
those are good.
All right.
And yeah, you could just. They're better with chocolate, but yeah, you could just eat the beans.
I've eaten an espresso bean, like having a espresso martini or something, and just like you get I don't like that.
It kind of gets stuck in your throat a little bit. It's like, it's a bit much. But yeah, just because you can do it doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's true. But now I know dipping chocolate then bombs away.
That's the key.
The other question: why do we call it a bean if it's actually a seed?
I have no idea. It's a funny thing. I know it makes no sense, but somebody at some point started calling them beans, but they're not beans. They're seeds. And now there's no going back.
Right. Or maybe that's the innovation. Oh, the coffee
seeds.
We don't use beans. We have seeds. People are like, oh wow. It's totally new. Yeah. It's a good idea.
Depends on what I was going to say. However the marketing is. It changed everybody's mind about the same thing.
Introducing the coffee seed.
The coffee seed. Love it.
All right. I learned a lot in this hour.
Yeah, me too. Very interesting.
I've had a great time, guys. I really appreciate you. And honestly, like, I'm not joking. Like, the way that you guys, your questions were like spot on, and you totally followed. You guys knew more about this than I did, like starting out. Like, so you didn't think you did, but it's perfect. You guys are right.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm like, because the whole point about the fruit is already just confusing to me.
And I learned a lot that the French has a lot to do with coffee without really knowing it, because you said Burgundy, you said Bourbon. I'm like, these are all like things that are all in there. Interesting.
You know, I was going to mention this. I think you mentioned it earlier, but you had something about you pointed out like fermentation, like in coffee, right? And that is something that people don't realize, that like all coffee is actually fermented to a certain degree. You know, and it's like, because you have to, fermentation it's just letting the micro, you know, little creatures like eat all the little sugars and stuff, like, just so, like, obviously it's how we make, like how yeast turns sugar into alcohol, right? Like that's fermentation. Right. And the same thing is being used to get rid of the sugars around the coffee seeds, either when they're sitting out in the sun, which they ferment a little bit and then dry out, or when they're in the tanks, right? And you're infusing them with different flavors with the fermentation. So all coffees go through that stage, but it's hidden. Like most people, you think of like fermentation, and you think like kimchi, like, you know, exactly. You think of like pickles, you know, you think of things like that. It's like, no, it's like actually lots of food uses fermentation, you know, breads, you know, beer.
That sounds like a wonderful festival, a fermentation.
The fermentation festival. It's like all the delicious things in the world.
That is true. That could work.
Yeah,
so many things.
You are a marketing genius, honestly. Like this is like the fourth like good idea you've had in this conversation. Great.
Do you have any more questions?
Nah, but I appreciate you.
This has been a fun time, guys.
We want to thank Jim from Wavelength Coffee for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, guys. This has been a blast.
Now, before we go, I know you already said a little bit, but before we go, we always like to know how people can find you on the World Wide Web, the social medias, all the good stuff. Actually, before I go back, I did one more question. I did have.
Right.
Have you ever thought about? And I know you're still early in the game. Like, have you thought about doing a tasting room, or I didn't say cafe, but like a tasting room yet, or is that something you'll do?
So we do. So at our roastery in Shirley, we like you said, we don't have a cafe there, but we do group like events where we have people come in and do like tastings of different coffees. We have sometimes different themed things, or we'll do tours and tastings. We've had some groups come in and actually do their own custom blending. So they actually do some, like a couple of university groups that came in, and their students did their own custom blend that they then sell at their school, like in their little cafe shop. That's our coffee. So that's like kind of the fun stuff. We like to have people in our community come in, and we can share that with them. So that is a cool thing we do. And to answer your first question, besides just the website, probably the best like social that we use is mostly Instagram. We're on there. So I think my wife's gonna kill me. I don't remember what our handle is. I think it's Wavelength. I think it's just Wavelength Coffee, or it's. She's gonna kill me. I think it's Wavelength Coffee Roasters. She's the social media person in the family.
You're going to get in trouble.
I am in trouble already.
It's Wavelength Coffee. Yeah, you was right.
I was kind of right. So if you like, basically, if you go to the website, then you can get us. You can get the Instagram from there. But yeah, we keep that updated all the time. We're always doing new content and stuff like that. So
all right.
Yeah, it's good business.
Yo, how can I find you? Even if they can't see you.
I know you can't see me today. Having technical issues on that camera. I still look good, just in case you was wondering. But you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at IM302YODA.
All right. Shout out to Lou Belgium. You can find him at Lou Belgium. You can find Brewsing Banter Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and TikTok at Brewsing Banter Podcast. You can go to www.brewsingbanter.com if you want to find out more about this episode. If you want to buy merch, I don't have any merch on today, but if you want to do that too and find out any events that we have.
I do, but they can't see me.
Yeah, you did have it on earlier. If you want to follow me, Rob Say Brewsing, there it is right here. Bing, 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 on Instagram. Once again, we want to thank Jim Varney from Wavelength Coffee Roasters for coming on the podcast. This has been another episode of Brewsing Banter Podcast. Oh, and if you want to follow us again on Patreon, it's www.patreon.com/brewsingbanter. You can go get extra information from there as well. This has been another episode of Brewsing Banter Podcast. Until next time, have a good week, everyone.
Pour it up, that's the last call. Women tend to the world, yeah, we said it all. Rob, Blue, and Yoda, 3 deep at the bar. Brewsing Banter, baby, you know who we are. From the hops to the bars to the box scores, talking culture like we did this 300 times before. Craft beer in the cup, hip hop in the soul. 302 to the phone settle, that's how we roll. No script, no filter, just the truth on tap. Lou bring the knowledge, Yoda bring the gap between what you thought and what you about to learn. Stay tuned, stay thirsty till it's our turn. So pour it out till we meet again. Brewsing Banter, your favorite podcast.